Hi again, folks, and welcome back. And now we're moving on to Module 2, which is defining the project. And within this particular module, there's a number of items we're going to be going over, starting with creating a new project and setting its start date. Then we're going to look at inserting the project summary task, setting the default task mode, and then talking about the project calendar and how that impacts your project. And these particular steps are steps that you should follow regardless of the method used to create your project. So they're things that you'll follow for every project that you will create within the system. All right, creating a project and selecting its start date. Now, you remember from Module 1, Microsoft Project provides a number of different ways to start your project, right? Start from a template, start from a blank project, start from an existing project. You copy and paste from an Excel document, SharePoint lists, etc., etc. A number of different ways. We're just going to cover two here. And one's creating from a blank project and one's creating from a template. Okay, so let's look at those right here. As you can see, I've got Microsoft Project up and I'm on my great start screen. And remember, the start screen provides us the ability to start from all those great Office templates or the blank project. Really, really simple. Just repeating what we looked at earlier, right? If I want to start a blank project, click on the blank tile and it starts my project and I have a blank table here, right? So it's the Gantt with timeline. So I can start typing in task names as I want. Task 1, press enter, right? Task 2, press enter, and so forth. Easy enough. Now to start a project from a template, I can either just pick from one of the ones that are here. If I want to actually search, I can type something in the search box, or I can just click one of these quick links here. Clicked on business, it's going to find me all the business type templates. And you can see the ones here. Just click on one time. If I click on it once, I will get this dialog box that just gives me a little bit more information about that template, the name. It's looking at the phases that are within that particular phase. It gives me an option to specify it's a start date there. And then ultimately I can click this create button, which I'm doing now, which will create the project right in my project window there. And there is the project, right? So it's ready to go. Simple as that. Now, once you have that project schedule created, one of the things you're going to want to do, one of the first things you're going to want to do is specify the start date. Many times you'll know when the start date is. Sometimes you won't. If you don't, then you'll just want to set it reasonably close to when you do know when the start date is. So the thing to keep in mind is that Microsoft Project focuses on time. And although you can actually schedule projects from the finish date, meaning I can specify when I want it finished, and then project will schedule the tasks backward. Although you can do that, it's far, far better to schedule from the start date. And what project does is it puts a task constraint in all the tasks of as soon as possible. And that really gives you the greatest scheduling flexibility. Now, if it turns out that, hey, Dan, we went ahead and did what you said. We put the start date in. We put all the task dependencies as we needed within the project, and the finish date came out to pass where it needs to be. Well, there are other things that you can look at within the project. You can crash the project. Sometimes you can assign 2 resources to a task, which will get it done in less time. Sometimes you can look at the dependencies and maybe tasks can be done in parallel. So there are a number of things that you can look at. However, the best way to schedule a project is from the start date. Once I have my project up, and I'm going to go over here and get a blank one. Once I have the project open here, the thing that I want to do to navigate and set my start date is on the project ribbon right here. Click on the project ribbon. I want to locate the properties group, and within there's a project information button. When I click on that, it'll bring up my project information dialog box. There are a number of different settings here. The only one that I'm concerned with right now, actually a couple of them, but the only one primarily is the start date. It's always going to pre-fill to today's date. What you'll want to do is specify when you really think this project's going to start. Maybe I'm thinking it's going to start October 7th. I'll specify that. And then the other point that we mentioned earlier is that the schedule from, when do you want to schedule this from? And again, like I said before, scheduling from the start date is absolutely the best way to schedule a project with the most flexibility. So with those parameters specified, I click OK. And what I'd like to do now is let's go ahead and save the project. I'm going to navigate File. Then I'm going to navigate Save. I'm going to save as because it's not been saved before. Ultimately, it's going to get me to the same place. And then I'm going to browse. And I'll locate my project folder. And I'll call this class project. Right. And we'll call this the 27th. And there it is. And now you can see in the header bar has the name of my project. So I created my blank project, specified the start date, saved it. Now I'm good to go. Now I can move on to the next part in the process of building this project schedule.